What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Not a Movie Buff. And if this is your first time listening, I appreciate you giving the show a shot, especially during a week where everybody's busy with family, food, and trying not to argue with somebody over who messed up the mac and cheese last year. Now, Thanksgiving week is one of those times where the energy in the house is completely different. It's loud, warm, and chaotic, but in a good way. People are moving around, somebody's oven is working overtime, and you always have that one person who shows up empty-handed and still asks which dish they can take home first. There's just a certain vibe to this holiday that you don't get anywhere else. And the funny thing about Thanksgiving is how the day feels like it has these long stretches of hurry up and wait. The food takes forever, but the house smells amazing, and everybody's just trying to pass the time. That's when the TV always ends up coming on. It's not planned or announced, it just happens. Somebody flips the football, somebody puts on a cartoon for the kids, or somebody scrolls through streaming for way too long before giving up and choosing something everybody's seen 1,000 times. But no matter what your family looks like, big, small, loud, quiet, traditional, non-traditional, movies somehow sneak into the day. Not necessarily ones you'd expect either. Thanksgiving isn't like Christmas, where we've got a whole lineup of movies tied to the holiday. Thanksgiving's more like, yeah, sure, just put something on and we'll chill while the turkey's cooking. That's honestly what inspired this whole episode. The movies, the specials, random comfort picks that end up becoming part of Thanksgiving accidentally. The stuff you watch because it's just on. The stuff you watch because it brings back memories. The stuff you watch to kill the awkward silence between relatives who only see each other twice a year. The stuff you watch while you're trying not to fall asleep on the couch after eating way too much. That itis. For me, there was always two things that meant it's Thanksgiving for real. A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving is simple, it's awkward and wholesome, and it's kind of funny when you watch it as an adult. It captures everything messy and heartwarming about Thanksgiving. People inviting themselves over, kids trying to fix a situation they're not equipped for, and Snoopy doing everything except what he's supposed to be doing. And then there's the parade. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is one of those things that you might not sit and watch from beginning to end, but you always catch a piece of it. It's just part of the morning. You're walking to the kitchen and you see a giant balloon floating across the screen. You hear a marching band. You see a celebrity you forgot existed. It's background noise, tradition, nostalgia. It's just Thanksgiving. But the real comedy is the movies that show up every year that have absolutely nothing to do with Thanksgiving. You'll see Home Alone playing even though it's a Christmas movie. You'll see Spider-Man or Shrek because cable channels love running those marathons for no reason. Some households treat The Incredibles like it's a holiday film because it always pops up in rotation this time of year. And the best part? None of these choices make sense. And that's exactly why they fit Thanksgiving so well. It's randomness with structure, comfort with chaos, a routine that nobody planned but everybody accepts. So today, that's what we're breaking down. The classics, the accidental traditions, the comfort watches, the just throw something on movies, and why holiday viewing hits different, not because the movies change, but because we do. When the house is full, the food is on its way, and everybody's in that half-relaxed, half-stressed Thanksgiving headspace, it changes the way stories hit you. If Thanksgiving had an official soundtrack, a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving will be somewhere between the opening track and the closing credits. It's not a flashy special, it's not complex, and it's not trying to reinvent anything. It's just honest. And honestly awkward, in a way that perfectly matches how most Thanksgiving days feel when you strip away the picture-perfect versions people post online. Growing up, this special was always playing around this time of year, and the more I rewatch it as an adult, the more I realize how accurate it is. Because Thanksgiving is one of those holidays where everybody is on a different wavelength. You've got some people that are hungry, some are stressed, some are trying to avoid conversations, and then there's some that are acting unbothered even though they've been cooking for 5 hours straight. But somehow all of that is captured in a simple animated special from the 1970s. Charlie Brown, of course, is the hero who didn't sign up to be a hero. He's just trying to mind his business. He wants to enjoy the holiday, maybe even relax a little. And then suddenly he's hosting an entire Thanksgiving meal he didn't even agree to. Peppermint Patty calls him like, "I'm coming over," and doesn't wait for a yes or no, she just declares it. And not just for herself. She brings half of her friend group with her like Charlie Brown's running a restaurant. Now, Charlie Brown's a much better person than me. That wouldn't be me. You're not coming over to my house uninvited. But there are people like her, someone who invites themselves, they show up with nothing, they get mad when things don't meet their expectations. And when the food finally comes out in the show, it's not turkey, stuffing, sweet potatoes, or mac and cheese. You got toast, pretzel sticks, popcorn, jelly beans, even ice cream sundaes if you're lucky. And honestly, most kids will prefer that over the actual Thanksgiving plate. Back then, kids weren't thinking about roasted vegetables or cranberry sauce. They were thinking about snacks and sugar. And Charlie Brown accidentally created the most accurate kid version Thanksgiving meal ever put on television. The Snoopy portion of the special always gets me too, because Snoopy acts like he's catering a full holiday event when he's really just out there wrestling folding chairs like they owe him money. He puts as much drama into setting up a lawn table as some adults put into making a whole turkey. Snoopy is in his own world every single time, and Thanksgiving's no different. While all of this is happening, Charlie Brown's stressing, Snoopy's wilding, Peppermint Patty is yelling, Marcy is trying to be the only responsible one. And the whole thing ends up feeling like a snapshot of Thanksgiving in real life. Because even if your family dynamic doesn't look exactly like this group, the energy is familiar. The mix of frustration and warmth, the tension mixed with genuine appreciation, the chaos mixed with gratitude. That's why the special hits so differently when you're older. You start to see the layers. You realize Charlie Brown didn't want to disappoint anyone, even though the situation was unfair. You see the pressure people put on themselves to make holidays right, even when things don't go perfectly. And then you watch the group work through their misunderstanding, apologize, show gratitude, and end the day together. And that moment, it still works because it's earned, not forced. The style of the special also fits Thanksgiving energy perfectly. It's calm, slow paced, not trying to be funny every 2 seconds. It gives you room to breathe, room to just be, room to let the day happen the way Thanksgiving always does, not on a tight schedule or on a perfect script, but just naturally. And that's why a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving has stayed relevant, not because of the animation or because of the complexity, but because it feels real. It captures the heart of the holiday through a lens that's simple but honest. The awkwardness, the misunderstandings, the effort, the togetherness, all packed into 30 minutes. And even if you haven't seen it in years, the moment it comes on, it feels like Thanksgiving morning. It's one of those rare specials that doesn't need nostalgia to work. It's good because it understands people. And honestly, starting the day with this special, it just feels right. It sets the tone. It gets your mind into that warm, messy, we're figuring it out, but we're doing it together space that defines the holiday. Another thing I've always found funny about Thanksgiving is how the day somehow becomes a movie marathon, even though nobody ever sits down and plans one. Nobody says, yo, at 1, we're going to watch this. At 4, we're going to watch this. There's not structure. There's no list or theme. Thanksgiving's too chaotic for that. But every year, certain movies just appear on the TV like Thanksgiving summoned them. Movies that have nothing to do with pilgrims, family gatherings, fall weather, nothing. But for whatever reason, they've become unofficial Thanksgiving classics, comfort movies, easy background watches, films that hit the vibe without even trying. Take Home Alone, for example. It's a Christmas movie, obviously. Nobody argues that. Kevin is literally left home for Christmas. The entire plot revolves around the holidays, and yet Thanksgiving rolls around and Home Alone magically pops up everywhere. Streaming services push it forward, cable channels air it like they're legally obligated. Someone in the family starts scrolling, sees Kevin's face on the screen, and immediately clicks it without a second thought. And it works. It's warm, it's funny, nostalgic. It reminds you that Christmas is right around the corner, but it doesn't force you into the full holiday spirit just yet. It's like a soft warm up, a pregame, let me ease into December slowly vibe. Plus, everybody in the room knows at least 3 lines from the movie, whether they admit it or not. Most people never sit down to watch it from start to finish anymore. Thanksgiving is the background noise version of Home Alone. It's on while people are cooking, on while the kids are running around, and while adults are half dozing on the couch after eating too much. It just fits. Then you've got 2002 Spider-Man. You already know what I'm talking about. For some reason, Thanksgiving week activates cable channels like, all right, dust off Tobey Maguire and run it. You'll be flipping through channels, trying to find anything that's not football, and suddenly Toby's out here delivering pizzas, trying to balance his life, getting tossed through buildings by the Green Goblin, and you end up watching it. Spider-Man is a perfect Thanksgiving movie without trying to be one. It's exciting enough to keep your attention, but chill enough that you don't have to follow every detail. It hits that sweet spot between comfort and energy. You can tune in and out without feeling lost. And the early 2000s vibe, the music, the acting style, pacing, it somehow matches the post-meal relaxation energy that Thanksgiving always brings. Shrek is another one that pulls up during Thanksgiving like it owns the place. And let's be real, you're not turning Shrek off. It's one of those movies where the second it comes on, the room gets quiet. Adults pretend they're not watching, but we absolutely are. Kids love it, teenagers remember it, grown folks know every joke by heart. The soundtrack alone is enough to keep you locked in. It's comfort food in movie form. No theme required. And then you've got The Incredibles, which Cable insists is a holiday movie, even though not a single snowflake appears in it. But honestly, it kind of fits. It's cozy and colorful. It's a family movie, but not in a corny way. It's fun without being loud and exciting without being stressful. And there's something about seeing the Parr family work together, argue, and figure things out that feels like the perfect mirror to whatever's happening in your real family that day. All of these movies, 100% completely unrelated to Thanksgiving, but they share something important. They're low pressure and they're fun and they're familiar. They meet you exactly where you are during the holiday. See, Thanksgiving is not the time for heavy movies. No one's trying to watch a courtroom drama after 3 plates of food. Nobody wants a complicated plot after arguing about who's cutting the turkey. You want something you can fall asleep to and wake up to and still know what's going on. And these movies do exactly that. They're also multi generational, which matters. Everybody in the living room knows these films. Nobody needs a recap or context. Nobody argues about the choice because everybody enjoys them. And the background energy they create is exactly what makes the holiday feel like the holiday. You're not watching them because the story fits Thanksgiving. You're watching them because the vibe fits Thanksgiving. They're familiar without being repetitive and comforting without being boring. You can watch them distracted or fully focused, and they still hit. That's why these movies have basically become unofficial Thanksgiving staples. Not because the holiday demanded them, but because they fill the space in a way nothing else does. Again, they're the perfect background noise, perfect comfort viewing, perfect let's throw something on while the food finishes movies. And honestly, half the time, they're the only thing keeping people awake long enough to make it to dessert. Now, if Thanksgiving had a secret ingredient that nobody talks about, it would be this: waiting. You wait for the food, for someone to finish using the oven, for that last dish that always takes longer than it should, and for people to show up who said they were on the way over an hour ago. See, Thanksgiving is 15% eating and 85% waiting around pretending you're not starving. And while all that waiting is happening, the TV becomes the unofficial anchor of the house. What's great about Thanksgiving background movies is that nobody plans them. There's no movie list. There's no organized marathon. Nobody's making a letterbox style post like, here's our Thanksgiving cinema schedule. No, it's the opposite. Somebody just picks up the remote. They scroll through options with zero urgency. They hover over 5 different things, get tired of thinking, and then just pick something familiar. Boom. That's the background movie for the next 2 hours. But the best part is the role these background movies play, because they're not meant to be watched closely or analyzed. They're there just to steady the room and to give the day a comfortable rhythm. You hear a line from across the house, and immediately everybody knows what movie's on, and everyone's okay with it. That's how those movies work. For some families, animated movies are the default. Not because the kids need entertainment, though that's a bonus, but because animated films create this easy, warm feeling. They fill the room with movement and color without demanding attention. You can walk in and out of the room 15 times and still know exactly where the movie is. Nobody's confused and nobody needs context. Other families lean into superhero movies, not because Thanksgiving is a heroic holiday, but because superhero movies are great background noise. You don't have to see every punch to understand what's going on. Spider-Man, The Incredibles, Iron Man, even Black Panther sometimes gets played depending on the household. It's all high energy with low commitment. And then there's the absolute classic, football. Because let's be real, a lot of households put on football even if nobody in the room is a fan. It's just tradition. Football on Thanksgiving is like dressing. Even if you don't like it, it's still on the table. The TV has the game on, but half the people watching don't know the score or the teams, and they don't really care. It's just noise with a purpose, something to glance at between conversations or while taking a break from cooking. But The part that I love about these background movies is that they turn into unofficial traditions. Nobody ever declares them traditions, but after a few years, you start to notice the pattern. Oh, yeah, we always end up watching that. Or this is always on when the food is almost ready. Or, we watch this every Thanksgiving and I don't even know how it started. It becomes part of the atmosphere, your day, part of your memory. People don't remember every dish from every year, but they remember watching certain movies while the house smelled like food. They remember who fell asleep during what scene or helping in the kitchen while remembering a familiar line that made them smile or laugh. And that's the thing. Thanksgiving background movies, they're not all about the movie. They're about the moment and the feeling and the comfort and chaos happening all at once. The movie, it keeps people relaxed without making them check out completely. It gives the room something in common when the conversation gets quiet. It adds personality to the day without overwhelming anything else happening. So whether it's an animated classic, a superhero flick, a random cable pick, or a game nobody's really watching, background movies give Thanksgiving its pace. They help the day flow. They ease the waiting. They create a shared experience even when everyone is doing different things. And before you know it, the background movie becomes just as big a part of Thanksgiving as the food. Not just because it's essential, but because it's familiar. And sometimes, familiar is exactly what people want on a day built around comfort. Something about Thanksgiving that nobody really talks about is how the day changes the way you watch movies. You can watch the same movie in July and it won't feel anything like it does on Thanksgiving. The story, the scenes, the characters, none of that changes, but somehow the experience does, and it's because of everything happening around the movie, not the movie itself. Thanksgiving is this rare mix of noise and quiet, but at the exact same time. You've got people talking, laughing, cooking, catching up, or just hanging out, but there's also this underlying calmness. You're not necessarily in a rush, you're not thinking about work or errands or trying to get through a long list of tasks. You're just there in the moment and letting the day unfold however it unfolds. And when you put a movie into that environment, it becomes more than something to watch. It becomes part of the atmosphere, almost like another dish on the table, but one that feeds the vibe instead of your stomach. Movies hit different on Thanksgiving because they're not competing with the rest of your life. They're not background noise because you're bored. It's because your mind is finally relaxed enough to enjoy something without overthinking it. And when your body's warm, full, and surrounded by people, whether it's family, friends, or even just the people you've chosen to spend the day with, stories land differently. A scene that might feel average on any other day can suddenly feel nostalgic, or a line you've heard 1,000 times can randomly make you laugh harder than usual. It's not about the movie, it's about the environment around the movie. It's the smell of the food, the sound of someone opening the oven, the quiet conversation is happening behind you, the feeling of knowing you don't have to be anywhere else, the fact that half the people in the room are low key trying not to fall asleep. All of that blends together, and the movie attaches itself to that feeling. That's why certain films become unofficial traditions, even when they have nothing to do with Thanksgiving. You remember where you were sitting when a certain scene came on, or joking about a line with someone who's sitting next to you now. Movies become part of the holiday not because they're perfectly themed, but because they match the emotional temperature of the day. And honestly, that's the real power of a holiday movie. Not the plot or the genre or the budget. It's the way that it connects to the moment. Thanksgiving makes simple things feel bigger, familiar things feel meaningful. It makes old movies feel like new memories. So even if you're not paying full attention, the movie becomes part of the rhythm of the day. It ties everyone together without forcing interaction. It creates a shared experience without needing everyone to sit still. And by the end of the day, you're not really remembering the movie itself. You're remembering how the day felt with that movie playing in the background. That's why holiday viewing hits so different. Not because we change what we watch, but because of the people, the energy, the environment, and the moment we're watching it in. All right, so that brings us to the end of our Thanksgiving special. I wanted this episode to feel a little different, a little slower, a little warmer, a little more laid back, because that's really what this holiday is all about. Thanksgiving is not flashy and it's not dramatic. It doesn't need a long list of movies tied to it. It's just a day where the house smells good and people relax and time finally slows down for once. But honestly, that's why talking about Thanksgiving movies is fun. Not because the films are deep or life changing, but because of everything happening around them. Movies become part of the memory of the day without anyone trying to make them a tradition. They fit into the cracks between the cooking and the conversations and the naps. Again, they give the day a rhythm. So if you're spending this holiday with family, friends, or even just enjoying your own peace and quiet, I hope you get a moment today that feels good. Whether it's watching a classic, catching a random movie marathon, or just letting something play in the background while you eat one more plate than you planned. And if you've got a favorite movie you will always end up watching on Thanksgiving, even if it's not a Thanksgiving movie, you're not alone. It's just part of the vibe. Next week, we're getting right back into it with something I'm really looking forward to, my Zootopia 2 review. And listen, y'all, I've been waiting for this one. I am seeing it tonight, opening night, so you already know that I have plenty to talk about it. That episode drops next Tuesday, so make sure that you're following the podcast so it shows up on your feed the second it's out. No searching, no waiting, it'll just be there. Y'all, I hope you enjoy your holiday, get your grub on, enjoy your time, enjoy the food, enjoy whatever movie ends up playing while everything settles down. All right, y'all already know how this ends. I may not be a movie buff, but if you are going to see Zootopia 2 tonight, I'll see you at the movies.